to explain anything. If I'm unseen and I can't hear anything, can I get away from this purebred machine? And when I die, will he look me in the eye? Will he look me in the eyes without a scream? If I'm a child and I'll always be a child, is there any point in doing decent things? Maybe I'll go to Florida or New Orleans, like my father, finding shelter in the wind. I've got his face, I've got his taste. Is that a sin? Is that a sin? I wanna live in a clean white room where I'm told there's nothing left for me to do. I'm gonna move into a cold, dark house where nobody wants to know my whereabouts. I'll change my name, I never liked it anyway. Maybe he'll try to recognize me all the same. Never want a kid, I never want any of this. I want a clean white room where I know I'm just to a cold, dark house where nobody wants to know my whereabouts. I'll change my name.